Hello everybody! It's Friday today and we're going to be saying Mary, Mary, quite contrary for the last time this week. If you're ready, let's go. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row. I thought we'd do a number rhyme now, and this is one we learned very early on in September. If you're ready, let's say two little dicky birds together, and you can do the actions too. Two little dicky birds sitting on a wall, one named Peter, the other named Paul. Fly away, Peter, fly away, Paul. Come back, Peter, come back, Paul. Another rhyme I really like is Hey Diddle Diddle. Let's say it together. Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such fun, and the dish ran away with the spoon. Today's story is called Mimsey and Binks by Caroline Castle and Peter Bowman. Mimsey was a fine toy monkey with bristling brown fur and a long, long tail. He wore a smart red waistcoat and a tartan bow tie, and he always looked just right. Binks was a chattery felt rabbit who had seen better days. His ears had lost their stuffing and drooped down floppily by the side. His old dungarees were too big and the knitting had started to unravel. But Binks was full of joy, and for all his scruffiness, he was Mimsey's best friend, and he loved him more than anyone in the whole world. Every morning in the time between sunrise and breakfast, the toys came alive. Mimsey and Binks would take a stroll around the playroom. Mimsey would march up and down in a straight line, holding up his tail so it didn't drag on the carpet and lose its bristle. But Binks, oh, Binks would just run and jump and tumble and bounce and somersault. And Mimsey would say, "Oh, you must be careful, Binks, you'll hurt yourself." But Binks was so full of joy that he couldn't help it. And very soon Mimsey would be full of joy too, just watching Binks enjoy their early morning time together. One morning Binks began to sing because it was a fine March day and he had just seen the first flowers of spring appear in the garden. At first Mimsey told him to be quiet in case he woke up the children. But the song was so jolly and funny that he was soon joining in the chorus, which went, "Springtime brings the daffodilly, summer brings the rose and lily, autumn brings the ripe red cherry, winter brings the holly berry." It was then that Mimsey saw a letter sitting on the doormat. Quickly and with great excitement he opened it up, while Binks looked over his shoulder. "Oh my," said Mimsey, "Cousin Brewster is coming to visit." "How exciting," said Binks, doing a somersault. "What's he like?" Mimsey took a deep breath. "Well," he said, "he's very smart." "Smart?" said Binks gravely. "And very big and grand and clever," continued Mimsey, "and he likes everything to be just so." "Oh goodness," said Binks, standing on his head. The toys were up especially early next morning to tidy the Wendy house for Brewster's visit. They polished and scrubbed and dusted and swept until everything was done. But as Mimsey watched Binks at work, something began to worry away at him. Worry and worry until he finally said, "Dear Binks, I think you should have a new outfit for Brewster's visit." Mimsey rummaged around in the odds and end box until he found a smart pair of tartan trousers. They were a little tight, and he squeezed and pushed and squeezed until finally Binks was inside them. "I think they are a bit small," Binks said squeakily. "But they look marvellous," said Mimsey. "Just hold your breath and pull your tummy in." When Mimsey and Binks had finished their chores, they sat down to wait for the knock. Binks began to wonder what he could do to entertain the visitor. "Shall I do some of my tricks?" he asked. "Best not," said Mimsey. "I don't think he likes tricks." "Best not then," said Binks. "Well, shall I sing a song or do a dance?" he added hopefully. "Best not," said Mimsey. "I don't think he likes singing or dancing." "Oh, best not then," said Binks. Then Mimsey looked at Binks sitting quietly in the chair with his floppy ears, and the same worried feeling came back. "I tell you what," said Mimsey suddenly. "I think you should wear a hat." "A hat?" said Binks. "Yes, a hat," said Mimsey. "You look very smart in a hat." And he disappeared into the doll's house and returned with a large bobble hat with a pom-pom, which he pulled tightly over Binks's ears. "There you go, Binks, dear chap," he said. "That will keep you nice and warm." "But I'm not cold," said Binks in a small voice. But Mimsey didn't hear. Mimsey plumped up the cushions in the Wendy house and put the kettle on to boil. Then he brushed his fur and straightened his bow tie. Binks sat quietly in the corner, fidgeting uncomfortably with his new trousers. Outside the birds sang, the milk cart rattled, and the big clock tick-tocked. In fact, everything was as it always was in their special early morning time. But something was missing. All Binks' joy was gone. As Mimsey looked at Binks sitting quietly in the corner, he seemed to get smaller and smaller in his chair until he seemed nothing more than a crumpled bundle of felt and tartan. "Oh my goodness," sighed Mimsey. "Dear Binks, where have you gone?" Minutes later, Binks was back inside his warm Did I skip a page? No, sorry. There's a bit of a leap there.
That's weird, isn't it?
No, you see. Minutes later, Binks was back inside his warm, comfortable blue dungarees, and his ears once again flopped happily about as he bounced around the room. Almost at once, heavy footsteps sounded down the garden path, and the doorbell rang. Mimsey rushed to open it. There stood the biggest, furriest and most magnificent toy gorilla Binks had ever seen. "Brewster!" cried Mimsey. "Come in, come in!" Brewster strode inside, and Mimsey showed him around while Binks jumped and tumbled and bounced and sang as he set the table for tea. The sun shone. Sorry, that was page break. The sun shone, the birds sang, and the clock tick-tick-tocked, just as it always did. "What a happy place!" exclaimed Brewster. "That's because of my friend Binks," said Mimsey proudly. "My very best friend in the whole wide world." I like that story. But I wonder why Binks was so sad when he was wearing his new clothes.